Hello again. I welcome you to the best channel to learn a little more about the life of different characters, politicians, actors, actresses, singers, and others. Thank you for choosing us. Today, I have someone who began her career as a child actress in the early 1940s and was one of the most popular stars in Hollywood classic cinema in the 1950s. She continued her career successfully in the 1960s and continued to be a public figure known for the rest of her life. In 1999, the American Film Institute named her the 7th largest female film legend. She had 8 husbands and was well known for having purple eyes. Do you know what I mean? Please subscribe and like and ring the bell. We continue to work for you, a quality audience. Thank you. Throughout her life, Taylor's personal affairs were subject to constant media attention. She was married 8 times to 7 men, suffered from serious illnesses, and led a lifestyle of the jet set, including the construction of one of the most expensive private jewelry collections. In addition, Taylor was not the first star to launch her own fragrance, but without a doubt, she was the most successful. Her 1987 debut perfume, Passion, was an instant sales hit. White Diamonds, released in 1991, is still one of the most popular today over the decades of Elizabeth Taylor in fragrances. You may know it, but we have found some surprising curiosities about this great actress. Here we are going to share some of them. Elizabeth Taylor was the first actress to be paid $1 million for a role. She was paid this amount for acting as Cleopatra in the same film called 1963. During this time, President Kennedy's salary was $150,000, while the salary of the best-paid U.S. business executive was $650,000. However, her salary grew even later. She was also paid $1 million for her last films, being the best-paid Los Picapiedras in 1994. Elizabeth earned $2.5 million for this. Although she was paid less than $1 million for her performance in the 1980s, Elizabeth continued to make a fortune, which today is estimated at $210 million, according to Forbes. She had the most expensive jewelry collection. Some of the most famous pieces in her collection are the 3,319 kilat Krupp diamond, the 69.42 kilat Taylor Burton diamond, and the 50 kilat Peregrine pearl. Her third husband, Mike Todd, gave her a diamond tiara that he wore for the first time at the 1957 Academy Awards, but he also saw her swimming in the pool with her. He also gave her a set of diamonds and rubies. Her other husband, Richard Burton, also gave her very expensive jewelry just because it was a beautiful day or we were going for a walk. Her husband continued to give her earrings, necklaces, brooches, and incredibly expensive bracelets, and she herself contributed to making a collection of 1,778 jewelry pieces that were sold for more than $150 million at Christie's auction after Elizabeth's death. Elizabeth Taylor married for the first time when she was only 18, with Conrad Nicky Hilton, Jr. in 1950, but they divorced the following year due to alcoholism and Hilton's abusive behavior. Shortly after, in 1952, she married British actor Michael Wendy, and they were married for 4 years and then divorced in 1956. A few months later, she married the famous producer Mike Todd, and they were together until his death 2 years later. Then she married the singer Eddie Fisher, who was already married when the two met and had to divorce, which resulted in Taylor being called a homewrecker. In 1964, she divorced Fisher and then married his compatriot Richard Burton, with whom she was together until 1974 when they divorced. But she remarried in 1975 and then divorced again in 1976. She married her 6th husband, John Warner, in 1976, and her 7th husband, Larry Fortensky, in 1991, and divorced in 1996. One of the things that made this actress so irresistible and unique was the fact that she had beautiful eyes. Her eyes were dark blue, but they contained a certain amount of melamine that sometimes made them look a little purple. But her eyes were far from being completely purple. However, Elizabeth was often seen wearing purple or blue makeup to highlight the color of her eyes. She also had natural double eyelashes, which made it impossible for her not to admire her eyes. It is not surprising because they are the most searched eyes on Google, with 325,000 searches per year. Like any other celebrity, it was natural for Elizabeth to appear as the cover girl of many magazines throughout her career. But what makes her stand out among the crowd is that she was on the cover of People magazine 14 times, which makes her the second celebrity with such a number of covers in solitario, being Princess Diana the first. She was also on the cover of Life magazine 14 times, making her the only actress with this number of covers in the magazine. Elizabeth was the cover girl of about 1,000 magazines during her life. The actress was beautiful to rage and was also an attractive and sensual woman. She triumphed in cinema and in real life. She collected loves, jewels, and Oscar awards. She was a star with a brutal dimension and one of the few Hollywood actresses who can be called a diva without glances. At 10 years old, she was already known and enjoyed the success of her film El Coraje de Lassie, although it was with her second work, Fuego de Juventud, together with Mickey Rooney, when she made the big leap to fame. The case of Elizabeth Taylor Lee is unique, as she is one of the few stars who was a focus of attention for her profession and her private life through equal portals. She had 3 Oscar awards out of 6, to which she was nominated, and that she deserved all, of course. She won the Oscar for Una Mujer Marcada and Quien Teme, a Virginia Woolf, in addition to another honorific, but she also had to have taken it for De Repente, El Último Verano, El Árbol de la Vida, and La Gata sobre el Tejado de Zinc. There are 2 photographs that are iconic, the first ones that come to mind when we talk about Liz Taylor, the one on the aniquilated bed of La Gata sobre el Tejado de Zinc, and the one sitting on her knees on the beach with a white swimsuit. De Repente, El Último Verano, 2 images that serve to link her beauty and sensuality, but also her aura of a star. There is one of her 8 husbands who represented the love of her life. We are talking about Richard Burton. They fell in love on the set of Cleopatra, both of them drinking large doses of coffee to counteract their hangovers. The passion that broke out between them was like a gift for the Hollywood liars and whores. The love lasted 10 years, and the heartbreak lasted a year and a half, because they got married again. The wedding was in Botswana, but they only lasted 8 months. Thousands of things have been written about their relationship, and all highlight the jewels that Burton gave her, including the spectacular 69-carat diamond of Taylor Burton, bought in 1969 for $1 million. Liz sold it years later for triple and destined the money for beneficial purposes in Africa. And the also famous Pilgrim Pearl, so linked to the Spanish royalty. Elizabeth Rosamond Taylor, her first name is Peel, was born in Hampstead, London on February 27, 1932, also known as Liz Taylor. She was an Anglo-American actress in film, theater, and television. She developed an artistic career in the United States that lasted for more than 60 years, in which she gained popularity mainly as an actress in Hollywood movies. Her first role in film was in There's One More Every Minute, in 1942 for the Universal Pictures Studios. Her most popular period would occur in the mid-1940s, with young feature films such as National Velvet from 1944. Since the 1950s, her roles in film have become increasingly important, and she was recognized for her interpretive skills for drama, consecrating herself with films such as The Father and the Bride in 1950, A Place in the Sun in 1951, Gigante in 1956, Cat on the Rock, Teen Wolf in 1958, Suddenly, Last Summer in 1959, and Butterfly 8 in 1960, for which she received a great number of awards and distinctions. She was directed by prestigious directors such as Vincent Minnelli or Richard Brooks, and acted with actors such as Spencer Tracy, Montgomery Clift, James Dean, Roth Huston, or Paul Newman. Her role as Cleopatra in the accidental and controversial 1963 film was a worldwide success. She was the youngest of the two children of Frances Lane Taylor in 1987 and Sarah Thornton of single Sarah Viola Warbroth in 1995. Americans who resided in England. Taylor's older brother, Howard Taylor, was born in 1929. His parents were from Arkansas. Frances Taylor was an art merchant, and Sarah was a former actress whose artistic name was Sarah Thornton. Thornton retired from the stage in 1926 when she married Frances in New York City. Taylor's names are in honor of her paternal grandmother, Mary Elizabeth Taylor. One of her maternal great-grandparents was Swiss. At the age of 3, Taylor began taking ballet lessons. Shortly before the beginning of World War II, her parents decided to return to the United States to avoid hostilities. She traveled first with her mother and brother, landing in New York City in April 1939, while her father stayed in London to complete his art business. Arriving in November, they settled in Los Angeles, California, where her father opened a new art gallery, which included many paintings that were imported from England. Something controversial for some biographers is that, following the death of Elizabeth Taylor and the problems with her enormous will, it has been said that the famous actress became a Jew at the age of 20. The friendship with Jim Dean and then with Michael Jackson. Taylor was also very fond of the late King of Pop. It was precisely she, the first person to call him that in an award ceremony, and from there arose the so popular appellation. In addition, Michael Jackson wrote her an exclusive song for her birthday, called Elizabeth, I Love You, and a photograph with both was included on the cover of the successful album of Jackson history. We are now going to talk about the health problems, diseases, and death of this great diva. Taylor had major seizures every time she went through problems in her personal life. Taylor was hospitalized more than 70 times and had at least 20 operations. Many times, the headlines of the newspapers erroneously announced that Taylor was close to death. Taylor, in her maturity, constantly gained and lost a lot of weight, reaching from 54 to 82 kilos in the 1980s. She began with an addiction to tobacco in the mid-1950s and feared to develop lung cancer when in October 1975, X-ray studies showed spots on her lungs, leading later to a treatment to avoid developing the disease. Taylor broke her back 5 times, had 2 hip replacements, had a hysterectomy, suffered from dysentery and phlebitis, had a perforation in her esophagus, survived a venous brain tumor eradicated in 1997 and skin cancer, and had pneumonia attacks that threatened her life twice. In 1983, she admitted to being addicted to sleeping pills and analgesics for 35 years. She received alcoholism treatment and drug addiction, entering the Betty Ford Center for 7 weeks from December 1983 to January 1984, and again from the fall of 1988 to 1989. Taylor announced that she suffered congestive heart failure, a progressive disease in which the heart weakens, stopping to bombard enough blood to the entire body, particularly to the lower extremities, such as the ankles and feet. In February 2011, the new symptoms related to heart failure caused her to be admitted to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles for treatment, where she remained until her death at 79 on March 23, 2012. Surrounded by her 4 children, she was a star qualified by the Anglo-Saxon media as bigger than life, a star greater than life itself. She is a remembered female legend in Hollywood, a classic thanks to her very photogenic beauty, a long list of relevant films with notable performances, and a turbulent sentimental history.